For these sections, the chairs will be leading by Dr. Sharasho from University of Oxford and University of Southern UK. May I now kindly invite Sharasho to be on the stage. And at the same time, may I also invite the first speakers. The first speaker is Professor Dr. Ulamin from Mangala Byuha Association of Myanmar. Please. The second speaker is Ms. Prabhakar Panusati, University of Peking, China. And may I also introduce our chair to all audience.
I hope everybody has enjoyed their meal. Now, this session is going to be on the mind in Abhidhamma. So our first speaker is Professor Dr. U Hlia Mint, and you have to excuse my pronunciation. Now, he is a prolific author and translator and has worked particularly on the works of Mahasi Sayadaw. And he's the Professor Emeritus at ITBMU in Yangon, the Buddhist Missionary University. Now, he has chosen a very intriguing title for his talk, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing it. It is the significance of mind, nāma, as a condition, pacaya, for mind, nāma, in Patthana. So thank you, and I hope you will speak. I've got my little warning signs here if you go over 25 minutes. I've been given these little, but I'm sure you won't need them. So thank you very much for speaking here.
Yes, thank you very much. If you do not mention this, I have in mind, so that I would like to request you to remind me, because just to save time. So first of all, I'm very happy, and it is my privilege and honor to present the paper here. So good afternoon and Mangalaba to everybody. So thank you very much. So the topic is the significance of mind, nāma, as a condition pacha for Patthana in Patthana. So everybody knows, especially the scholars, that a system of 24 conditional relations to all phenomena or states is incorporated in the Abhidhamma matrix. And Patthana, the book of conditional relations, probably the most important work in Abhidhamma Pitaka. Thus, it is designated as a great treatise on Mahapakarana. It is a teaching of the Buddha using the infinite method of words, Anandanya. Here, the Patthana accordingly presents a detailed exposition of the various ways in which they interrelate the mental and material phenomena enumerated in the Dhammasami, the first book of the Abhidhamma Pitaka. Then the Abhidhamma Sangha states that there are 6 ways of relations among the 4 ultimate realities and also the concept according to the Patthana of Abhidhamma Pitaka. The main purpose of this paper is to explore the nature and the significance of mind, nāma as a condition, pacha for mind, one of the 6 ways of relation in Patthana. Here, it is a relationship between the conditioning, both the conditioning state and the conditioned state. And the Paccaya-sati, conditioning force, shows how the conditioning forces and conditioned states are related. Yeah. In order to properly understand or comprehend the Abhidhamma teaching on conditional relations, there are 3 things to consider. The first one is the conditional states, Paccaya Dhamma. The second one is conditionally arising states. It is the Paccaya Dhamma. And the third one is the way in which they are related, called the conditional forces, the Paccaya-sati. So there are 5 things in the conditional states. And on the other hand, there are only 3. So in the conditional states, there are 4 ultimate realities, namely Citta, Cetasika, Rupa, Nibbana, and also concept, Paññatti. On the other hand, the conditioned state, there are only 3, namely the Citta, Cetasika, and Rupa. There are 6 relations, or 6 relations, according to the Abhidhamma Sangha. So it is said that in 6 ways, mind, nāma is a condition paccaya for mind. So mind, nāma is a condition paccaya for mind in 6 ways. In the same way, mind is a condition for mind and metta, nāma, rupa in 5 ways. Mind is a condition for in 1 way for metta, and metta is 1 way for mind. And in 2 ways, concept, paññatti, and mind and metta, nāma, rupa, are a condition for mind. In 9 ways, the diet, mind and metta, nāma, rupa is a condition for mind and metta. Here is it, the table shows their relationship in brief. The first one is mind to mind. There are 6 conditions. The mind to metta, 1 condition, mind to metta, 5, and metta to metta, 1 condition, metta to mind, 1. Metta, mind metta, nāma, rupa to mind metta, nāma, rupa, 9 ways. They are what is said in there, described in the Abhidhamma Sangha. But the Venerable Rector Dr. Malavi Wamsa added that according to their commentaries and sub-commentaries, there is also a relationship between the mind, metta, nibbana, and paññatti to mind. The Sayadaw said there are 2 ways. It is the aramana and upanisya, so as the scholars have already known. So when we are talking about 6 ways, here it is a condition for, we will look how mind is a condition for mind. Yeah, it can be divided into 3 or categorized into 3. Namely, the first one is the consciousness, citta, and mental factors, cetasika. That immediately sees a condition for present consciousness and mental factors by way of proximity, contiguity, absence, and disappearance. In Pali, Anandara, Samanandara, Nati, and Vigata. So in the second place, the precedent dynamic consciousness, it means impulse or jhāvana, are a condition for subsequent impulses by way of repetition. In the third section, the conditioned consciousness and mental factors. Condition here means that co-arising consciousness and mental factors are a condition for one another by way of association, sambuddha. So they can be described in brief as a consciousness and mental factors that immediately cease and present consciousness and mental factors. In the second place, precedent impulses and subsequent impulses. They are conditioned by way of asavana. Thirdly, among the conditioned consciousness and mental factors. So it can be categorized maybe in 3 levels. Here, it is an example of the Chakku Viññāna, Vithi. Here you will see the first 8, the preceding 8, and the end 2 are abhyagatas. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. From Atita Bhavanga to Vatthāvana, 8, and the last 2, the Dharamanas, the retentive consciousness, abhyagatas. So in the middle, you will see there are altogether 7. Usually there are 7 jhavanas. The middle 7 can be either kusala, akusala, or abhyagata. Then you can see there are, the last 2 are also the abhyagata, and the first 8 are also the abhyagata. So they can be described as a kusala, akusala, and abhyagata. Or together. So this figure shows the preceding 8 and the end 2 are Abhyagatas. Then the middle 7, the javanas can be either kusala or akusala or abhya or abhyagata. So here, when we are just learning the Patthana as a requisite, we should know about the mind, nature of the mind, and the vithi, etc. for the average person. Here, the mind is composed of consciousness and mental factors, and according to Abhidhamma, as you all are aware of that, there are 89 kinds of consciousness in brief, and the mental factors are 52 in number. Here, nāma, mind or mental, is a term generally used as a collective name, and there are, for there, 4 mental aggregates or immaterial aggregates, arobhina khanda, namely feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness, vedana, sanya, sankhara, and vijnana. According to the Atthakatha, it knows that 4 immediate aggregates are also called the nāma. Here the reference given is a Saunta Atthakatha and also Visuddhimagga Atthakatha. Here, when we are talking about the mind and the associated mental factors or mental concomitants, 4 common characteristics of the consciousness and mental factors are to be understood, namely arising together, ceasing together, having the same object, and having the same peace. Eka-upada, eka-nirodha, eka-lambana, and eka-vatuka. Here, the thought process, you know, there are 2 kinds of thought process. The first one is with the 5, they are associated with the 5 dwaras or doors, like unconsciousness, ear consciousness, etc. They arise in contact of between eye and visual object, ear and sound, the nose and smell, tongue and taste, and body and touch, etc. Here, for those who have taken part from the moment immediately following the cessation of revolving in consciousness, the same type of consciousness apprehends the same object, flows on uninterruptedly, like the stream of a river. And it does so until the arising of the dead consciousness. From that moment of birth to the moment of death, the Bhavanga, it flows on like the current or stream of a river. So long as there is no occurrence of cognitive process. When there is cognitive process, then when it stops, it will fall back into the Bhavanga, etc. In this way, stream of consciousness flows on from the conception until death, and from death to new birth. It is like endlessly in periods of dreamless sleep, etc., like the current of a river. Here you will see the water is flowing. It seems they are separate, but they are flowing. The first water, when the first water particles are moved, then the second particles, one after another, will take into the place of the first one. It is like the same thing, like that of the hourglass. When the sand is coming in or coming down, and then the sand particles will come down only one after another. Only when there is the first sand is not there at the maybe at the entrance, then they will go through. They have the chance to go through. So this is how the mind is working. The mind will arise one after another only. Like the flame, when we think that the flame, it is continuously burning, or giving light. Actually, it is maybe in the second one, you can see it is flickering, and it is not, actually it is a continuous, only one after another. Well, you will see there is the break of the flame. So in the same way, they are not actually not the same solid mass, but they are coming after another, like the flame is burning or like the stream of water flowing in the river. So there are two kinds of connected process, namely the fibro process, pacadvīravithi, and the mindful process. So I will skip here, as you have already known this one. In the case of the five-door process, pacadvīravithi, when, for example, we will consider the Indo process, then when a visual form impinges on the eye sensitivity, categorized, then supported by the eye base, there arises the eye consciousness taking the object of the visual form that has impinged on the eye. So in the eye door, there are 17 mental movements deal with the very great objects. Atita Bhavanga, Bhavanga Chalana, Bhavanga Upachera, Panchadara Vachana, Chaku Vinyana, and Sambrichana, Sandirana, Bodhavana. Then there are 7 impulses that experience the present object. Then there are Tadaramana, retentive consciousness, that succeeds the object of the Chavana. Let's see. Here, firstly, the stream of the Bhavanga is flowing on, and when the eye make a contact with the visible object, then there's a Atita Bhavanga, then Bhavanga Chalana, Bhavanga Upachera, and then Pachadvara Vachana, Chakudvara, Sambrichana, Sandirana, and Bodhavana. Then the mind realizes that object, namely the Chavana, 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 one after another. You will see that the mind movements occur one after another. But they are, of course, after that, first, before that, the Bhavanga is flowing on and on. Then when, after that, Chaku Vinyana, if there is no other Vinyana, Chaku Vinyana, etc., then there will be there Bhavanga. It will sink into the Bhavanga again. Here also, maybe okay, that's okay. Now we can see. No, it is a just copy of it. Just to show that here, at any section, cut, and you look at one point, maybe over the notch. Here, it is here over the notch. You can see at any point. Then first the water particles will move, and then another will come into the place. So that's why Heraclitus, a Greek philosopher, rightly said that no man can step twice into the same river, because it is flowing on and on. In the same way, the mind is flowing on and on. This is the Ando process. So there are, at every moment, there are sub-moments arising, and the presence, actually it is a, presence is a, according to the Ladisiaro, it is a movement between the arising and dissolution. Also, we can also understand the mind movement, but here, after that, Atita Bhavanga Bhavanga Chalana and Bhavanga Upachera, then Manom Dora Vachana follows, and then there will be the Javanas, etc. So when we are talking about the 6 ways, we have already learned that the first consciousness and the mental factors were conditioned in 4 ways: Anandra, Samanandra, Natya, Avigata, etc. There's a Chavana, just be a condition for one after another. Maybe. Yeah. So there are 6 conditions are involved in the process when we are studying the mind-to-mind relationship. Anandara, Samanandara, Nati, Vikata, and Asevana, and Samyuddha. When there is a Anandara, there is a Samanandara. In the same way, when there is a Nati, there is a Vikata. Here, what is proximity condition, Anandara? It means there's no interval. Interval does not mean interval of time, but interval of ultimate reality. There must be no ultimate reality between one and the following one. That's what is meant by this. So in the case of the continuity condition, actually proximity condition and continuity condition are identical in meaning. But some Atakatacharya said, oh, they have a different meaning. But mostly the scholars accept that they are identical in meaning. They differ only in the term, which highlights the same relationship from slightly different angles. One is Anandara and the other is a Samanandara. Then there comes a repetition conditions, which is also involved. Yeah? So by definition, it's a condition where conditioning mental states support a rising of new mental states of a similar kind and give them power. So in Javana, they have the similar kind, whether it is a kusala or akusala or abhyakata. So they must have the same nature or the characteristics. So this condition can only be obtained only in Javana mind, movements or cognitive process. But we have to remove the last Javana, because there's no other Javana. The 7th Javana is the last one, and it cannot be a condition for the next one. In the association conditions, it is to be it is associated with maybe the mind and mental states or consciousness, citta and cetasika. So there are 4 arupino khanda, and they are related to one another. In the case of the abstract conditions, this condition refers to the phenomena they have just passed through their absence. In the same way, it is by their disappearance, they're giving certain other phenomena an opportunity to arise. So they are called their disappearance. So as I have already mentioned, if there is an absence, there will be the vikata pachya condition. Yes, okay. Here, in the first place, it is obtained from the book by the Searology, in Patthana, Mula Patthana Searologies, and you can see there are 6 relationships, and there are the nāma has there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, altogether 6. You can also see namadu, namaruba, etc. But I'm just studying the first relationship, nāma and nāma. So it is a relationship between them, 6 nāma and nāma in 6 ways. It is a anandara, samanandara, asivana, and the samyuddha and nati and vikata. In the second place, so it shows a conditioned state and conditioned state. So there are 6 conditions: anandara, samanandara, asivana, samyuddha, nati and vikata. So when we are talking about the anandara, the preceding 89 citas, except Buddhist citta of arahants, because there are no more life for them, and also 52 cetasika. So on the side of the conditioned state, succeeding 89 citas, including Buddhist citta of the arahants and 52 cetasikas. For samanandara, the same as anandara. For asivana, 47 mani javanas, other than the last javana of the same kind, and 52 cetasika, and succeeding javanas, other than the first and the Phalajavanas. Then in the case of the San Buddha, both at the poverty, Prisandi 89 Jeta and Jetasika, both at the Bodhi and Jetasika. The same as Anandra and Samanandra. Okay, then the last one. Okay, thank you. So here you can see, according to the Tika Patthana, it will show Chakuanyana Dadu, Samvedaka Dhamma, Manodadu Ya, Samvedakanisa Dhammana, etc. Anandra Pachina Pacha, etc. It shows a relationship. But here, according to Panyawara, it goes further detail into further detail. Not only the Kusala Dhamma, in the case of Anandra, yeah, Purima Kusala Dhamma here, it also shows a new Lama, Buddhas. And also, a new Lama is a condition for water. And the Gotrabu is also for Megasa, and water and is a Megasa. So it goes into further detail. So it goes with the 8 of them. Here, water and etc. You can see it also study there or explains say Megaviti, Aplaviti, etc. So when we learn the mind and its molecule, as you can see there, it is very important in the Buddhist psychology. So it is a very important point, and we should understand the relationship between mind and matter according to the Patthana. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for such a comprehensive and brief, in the brief allocated time, survey of the way mind conditions mind. Thank you very much indeed. Now, that relates very well to our next speaker, who is Ms. Prapakorn Banusadit, and she's from the University of Peking in China. Now, I'm very interested to hear her talk after this talk, because I know she has some very interesting questions on the basis of Sarvāstivāda in Abhidhamma, and I'm very curious to see how the succession of mind is treated. So she's going to speak on mind concepts in Theravāda and Sarvāstivāda in Abhidhamma.
Good afternoon. Very honored and happy in order to attend this Abhidhamma conference. Especially this is the first time I have been in Myanmar, and it is so excited to be in the place which is the Abhidhamma study has provided in SSBU here. The topic, The topic that I'll be talking about is a comparative study of the mind that appeared in the Theravāda and Sarvāstivāda versions of Abhidhamma. Because I have limited of time, so I will just grab something that I think is interested between these two schools to present it to you. First, let's talk a bit about these two versions of Abhidhamma. Actually, maybe you already know that there are several versions of Abhidhamma have come down through the textual transmission, but only two main versions are nearly completely extant. That of the Theravāda, preserved in Pali, which we are all very familiar, and that of the Sarvāstivāda, mainly preserved in Chinese translation and maybe some commentaries in Tibetan. The significant difference between these two schools of Abhidhamma is that the Sarvāstivāda school doesn't exist anymore, but the Theravāda school still exists and still studies until today. Actually, the Sarvāstivāda in Abhidhamma system is quite different from Theravāda version of Abhidhamma, including its theory concerning the mind. Today, we'll discuss those small points to better understand the different ways to interpret the nature and function of the mind between them. So I will divide my talk into three parts. First, it will be the functions of mind in the perception process. that result in the production of kamma. Then in the second part is about the theory on rebirth. And last, I will give a summarizing conclusion. So let's start with the first part, perception process and kamma. What is perception? Actually, Professor Doctor just give you an introduction about perception of mind in Theravāda. It's not much different. Perception is how we perceive things with our sense, and Buddhism regards the perception caused by a contact of sense organs, objects as an immediate perception. This is often repeated in the sutta to say that a perception conditions sense organs and their objects. When we see things and receive it. Okay. And then in the Theravāda process consciousness, the cognitive process is described in the theory of Viticcitta. Is that just give the introduction as well. So I don't be so in details in this process. What I want to focus about is when we label every moment of consciousness in the process by the karmic status, we could see that the functions of perceiving, receiving, and investigating an object are said to be performed by classes of resultant consciousness, which means the nature of the sense data presented to our mind is regarded as determined by our previous actions. The basic experience that a person has are thus the result of his previous karma and beyond control. Here, the Chavana has a volitional aspect. It is the only stage in the cognitive process that is associated with volition, which is cetana. Unlike any of the preceding stages, Chavana has thus the ability to make an act of volition. The mind has a choice in how it will react to the experienced object. If the object is judged rightly, the kamma becomes moral. If wrongly, it becomes immoral. Therefore, it is at this stage that good or evil is done, depending on whether the volition are skillful or skillful. So the Theravāda school consider the essence of all three types of action is volition, which is cetana. Physical and verbal actions have no good or bad qualities in and of themselves. The moral quality of action is determined by the mind through intention. So for Theravāda, mental, verbal, and physical action all depends on cetana. So regarding to the Theravāda process consciousness, whether the types of objects or environment we experience, and mental, verbal, and physical karma we make, all depends on our mind. This is the point that is very contrast to the Sarvāstivāda. The Sarvāstivāda did not consider the essence of physical and verbal karma to be volition. Oh, sorry. Okay. Without bodily actions and speech, physical and verbal karma cannot exist. Consequently, the essence of physical karma is said to be the configuration of the body at the instant when a physical act is completed. In a similar manner, the essence of verbal karma is the last sound when a verbal act such as lying or swearing is completed. So we can see the different point between Theravāda and Sarvāstivāda to see the function of cetana. And Sarvāstivāda in that karma theory, because they are not depend on cetana, not only depend on cetana, they develop their own their own theory about kamma, which is the concept of vichayapti. In Chinese, it's piao, and avichayapti, u piao, which is manifested and unmanifested kamma and rupa, which will be. Okay. Avichayapti means unmanifested, unexpressed, or latent kamma on the basis of three facet time of existence. It is a physiological concept of this school which is responsible to invisible kamma. The avichayapti is of twofold. Unmanifested matter, which is avichayapti rupa, and unmanifested activity, avichayapti kamma. But when examined closely, it becomes quite clear that it is neither matter nor mere activity. On one hand, it is not mere matter like visible and audible objects, because it always implies some kind of activity. On the other, it is not mere activity because it is a product of material elements. This is due to the fact that avichayapti kamma partakes of the nature of its cause, namely vichayapti kamma, which is produced by body and speech, both of which comes under the category of matter rupa due to the twofold nature of avichayapti. Both avichayapti rupa and avichayapti kamma are used in general to mean unmanifested activity. Okay, then we could see that Theravāda think that the experience we have and karma we made all depends on our mind. But for Sarvāstivada, see, mind and matter both as reality exist. Being's action, although based on mind's origin, but it still needs physical existence to produce physical and vocal karma. So this is the main point I want to focus on these two schools. So then let's talk about the concept of mind in relation to the problem of rebirth. Buddhists consider what was reborn was not an entity but an evolving consciousness whose quality had been conditioned by kamma. Then when Theravāda, dealing with the difficulty of establishing kammic continuity across life, so they postulate a type of consciousness called Bhavanga. Bhavanga is the state of mind a being is born with, and it is the state of mind to which a being returns in deep, dreamless sleep, and in between every consciousness process. More strictly, it is the state of mind that arises at the moment of conception in the womb, forming the link between one life and the next. Okay. And then we come to see what kinds of mind can function as Bhavanga for different kinds of beings. Of the total of 89 classes of consciousness, this is the way Theravāda analyzes mind into 4 realms. And only from 89 of total, only 19 that can serve as a vipakas to perform the function of Bhavanga, to be related beings to death and the next birth. Only these 19. Okay, then come to Sarvāstivāda. Maybe you already know that for the Sarvāstivāda tradition, they're based on the realist doctrine of Sarvam Asti, which is their name of school Sarvāstivāda, which is think that all 3 times, past, present, and future Dhamma exist. And just like I said, they accept the physical manifestation of kamma, so it had no need and immediately intermediary between an action and its karmic result. So it's not like Theravāda school who need a Bhavanga to be transferred from life to life, but because Sarvāstivāda think that Dhammas exist of all time, so they don't need this. But they still have their own concept about the in-between state. So in Sarvāstivāda, there are 4 stages of life cycle, which is birth, the time between birth and death, and the time between lives. 生有, 本有, 死有, 终有. Now, and the antarābhava, the last one, the time between lives, is the best debate between Abhidhamma school. Okay, from the north branch of Abhidhamma and Theravāda Gathawa too, there are some lists of Buddhist school that accept and reject the concept of intermediate state. And it is in the Mahavipasa, which is the great commentary of Sarvāstivāda Abhidhamma commentary, that we see the first connection of term antarābhava, kanthava, sampavaisin, and manomaya. This is the translation of Chinese. If it's not very good, please apologize. Okay. So I will discuss, because in Mahavipasa, it do based on sutta to tell that this full name is the name of antarābhava that Buddha said about there is the in-between state. There is really exists this kind of beings. So now if we look in the two system of thoughts between Chinese Kamma and Pali Nikaya, we could find that for the first one, the name antarābhava Mahavipasa takes the term antarābhava from sutta, which is the present Tassatara Sutta. However, we could not find the term antarābhava in different versions of the Tassatara Sutta of Dhammakuptaka. Dhammakuptaka is still in these two is in Chinese translation. The first one is Sarvāstivāda, Tassatara Sutta, and the second is supposed to the Dhammakuptaka school. Only the Sarvāstivāda version of Abhidhamma did appear the name antarābhava, but for the Dhammakuptaka version and Theravāda version, there's no antarābhava. So this is, we can see the different version of sutta of different Buddhist school. Here was Sumitra also mentioned in his Abhidhamma Gosapasya, the term to be found in the Sarvāstivāda Sutta, which other schools did not have such passages. Okay, next is the term of kantappa. In Mahatanha Sankhaya Sutta, there is a passage about the descent of the being to be born, which is needed the union of 3 things. The first one is a mother and father are in state of union. Second, the mother is in the fertile period, And the third one, there is a presence of kantava. So the question is, what is kantava? Mahavipassa means that the term kantava in the parallel sutta of Mahatanghasakhaya to be the in-between state by saying, what is this kantava if not an intermediate state when the previous body has already destroyed, or what could be presented? On the other hand, in the Buddha-Kosa's commentary, he glosses kantapa as taturupakasutta, being arriving there. And Pattupatito Hoti does not mean that the kantapa is nearby looking at the union of mother and father, but he appears in the place being driven by the mechanism of kamma. So here we could see that in describe the same sutta, the same passage in the sutra, different schools have provided different way to describe this term. And not only a debate that we familiar in Gathawattu, also in the commentary we also can see about the kind of controversy on the same thing. Okay, next one is the term sampavesi. In some suttas such as Buddhamamsa Sutta, there is a passage using the terms Buddha and Sampavesito, distinct two types of beings, which are beings who have taken birth or for the support of those in search of a place to be born. So here, there also are different interpretation on Buddha and Sampavesi. When Mahavipassa cited the term Sampavesi to be one of the argument of antarābhava by explaining it as being who is in search of a place to be born in the six realms. But in Buddha-Kosa's commentary, Sampavesi is the moment, state of being in the Juti Citta and Patisanti Citta. And the last one, Manomaya Yi Cheng, is an argument on the term of Manomaya, but it is recorded differently in Pali Sutta. Here, after compare these three versions of Sutta, we can see that between Akama, there is some kind of cross in the reciting of this sutta, but it is something which is different than what is explained in the Pali Sutta. Okay, so the last one is for conclusion. So in conclusion, it can be summarized that from the different views on mental and physical actions, in terms of kamma, Theravāda places it in the context of process consciousness as a way to explain how is kamma related with mind. They consider volition to be the essence of all three types of actions. Moreover, on objects experienced by a person could be present or unpresent, depends on his previous karma that affect on mind. In contrast, Sarvāstivāda sees objects as things needed to be acknowledged. Three types of action, although stem from volition, bodily and verbal actions, are not able to be produced without physical factors. Theravāda then about the different views on rebirth. Theravāda postulates the Bhavanga as the continuity of the individual from life to life, contrary to Sarvāstivāda, who sees that not only mind but also subtle types of five aggregates called antarābhava to be the intermediate state between death and the next birth. So this is some points that I find from these two Abhidhamma school. I am not very expert in this to Abhidhamma school, but I try to learn how they related or what results make that develop in the different theories on mind. And I would appreciate any advice to improve this work. Thank you.
Well, thank you both very much. I enjoyed both the presentations very much indeed. Now we have this image of a river or a stream, which is used, I think, by both schools. So have we got any questions about this or about the difference between the two schools? Or if you would like to address an individual speaker on something specific to their talk, please do as well. Yeah.
A question for each speaker. So my first is to Ms. Bhavanga. Can you tell me anything about how you're seeing that difference relating to the alaya vijnana and whether there's any subtle aggregates there? My second question is to Professor Mint. I'd really like if you could go back to the explanation of the Anuloma and the Gotra Bu, because it was right at the end and I just didn't follow, so it was really just to go through it more fully, if that would be possible.
Okay, so should we start with the Alavignana? Would you like, and then we can go on to the Gotra Bu. Would you like to answer that?
Could you repeat the question again? Because I just introduced about the Sarvāstivāda, Abhidhamma, and didn't mention to Araya Vijnana.
That's right. So but knowing you from before, I'm aware that you're looking at Sarvāstivāda Abhidhamma in order to compare more thoroughly Bhavanga and alaya vijnana. So I was wondering if this picking out of this difference, the subtle aggregates that continue to make rebirth and continuation possible, yeah, whether at this stage in your research you have a sense of how that then affects the idea of alaya vijnana.
Because at the first page I see some difference between Theravāda and Mahayana, Yogacara Abhidhamma. And when I get into Sarvāstivāda Abhidhamma, I feel more confident about the related, because it's much different from the Sarvāstivāda, from the theory in Theravāda and Arya Vijnana. So that's why in the Arya Vijnana, in Yogacara text, only mention about the Theravāda Bhavanga and not mention about the Sarvāstivāda.
So do you think a specific rejection is happening in the development of alaya vijnana of this idea of the aggregate, subtle aggregates?
Yes, I would say that.
Thank you. That's a very helpful answer. Thank you. Perhaps now, Professor Mint, we could turn to your question on Gotra Bu, and it was a very final point you made at the end. Perhaps, yeah.
Yes. So please repeat that question.
It's not so much the question as towards the end you were in quite a hurry to finish, I think. You talked about Anuloma, Pachaya and Gotra Bu. I didn't follow and I wondered if you could explain it more fully. And I think it was 2 slides from the end, maybe.
Yes. First of all, in order to understand the Gotra Bu, etc., and here, in the case of the Sotabati Mega Vithi, here, Manodara Vijana, etc., then, here, after the Upachara, there's an Anuloma and the Gotra Bu. So this is the, as you have already know, this is the cutting the lineage of the Wallins. So when it was cut off, then one sees the mega. So the simile is given as just maybe crossing the river or when you arrive at the other side of the river, you just arrive at it. So the boat you are using for the crossing the river is left there. Or in one simile, when there may be a big tree and the branch is just projecting out, then when you are using a rope, you swim from this side of the river or stream, and then you swing, and then you just, when you arrive at the other side of the river, you just let it go. So this version is the warden side, Buddhist side. And on the other side is a Magga. You see it is the area of noble person. So it goes in the same way here, where maybe we can also refer to the other one thing. Here, when you see here. No, maybe this one. No, this one. Here you can see there. Anuloma here, Kusala Dhamma, Kusalam, Votasa, etc. So you see from the Mega, from the Phala, etc. What you are asking is about the maybe the Yokanda. Yeah, in that case, you can see well, in the first place, in the Tika Patthana, it just see in the Pacheo Odisha, it said, here is a Purima, Kusala Kanda, etc. But here, it also goes into the other Javanas, where Anuloma, Godarabu. So, Pa'unu Goja, etc. Then, Upajara, Godarabu, and then maybe in the case of the Jana, etc. In the case of this one, you can see Anuloma will also be a condition for the Godarabu, and Anuloma will also be a condition for the Vardhana. So in this way, lastly, for the first and second one can also be true for the Jana Vithi. But for the last two, Godarabu and Magga, Vardhana Magga. So in this relationship, so it is just for the Magga. So the Vardhana it is a purification. It will be also a Godarabu is, as I have already given the simile of the crossing the stream. So it will cross over the Vardhan's stage. And then in the Vardhana, also it is a purification of the mind. So it will also be a condition for the Magga. So you can, it is not very difficult if you learn that here the Panyawara of the Patthana. So it explains further detail about that. Okay, thank you very much.
And is that right? Thank you. And that's quite an interesting difference between the Sarvāstivāda view, isn't it? The 16 thought moments. But do you feel your questions, you've had your point of information? Because I have a question. We've been talking about a particular Abhidhamma point, which we've all been wondering about, and so perhaps we can ask you about it. Our speaker here raised a very interesting question. How does Bhavanga keep going? Because it stops in Jhavana thought moments. Now, it's not kept going by repetition condition, which only applies to kamma moments. So how does this stream sustain itself during the thought process in the absence, when there is an active mind and there is no Bhavanga? Is it kamma? Is it kamma condition? What pachaya is sustaining Bhavanga? Yeah.
When this was flowing, yeah.
And
when it was flowing, yeah, it is flowing. You see, it is like that.
Capricorn was asking.
Yes,
about this.
it is flowing.
Yeah.
Bhavanga is flowing. Suppose maybe you drop a colored ink, red colored ink here. Then it will go on from this point to there. then it will, but the stream is going on and on. Maybe you just spread few leaves, dry leaves in the water, maybe at this point. It will go on like that, javana, or like the vithi, and then after that, if there's no other spreading of the new leaves into the river or stream, then it will go on and on.
Sorry, but that analogy doesn't work because the water is always present.
The water, Bhavanga, is always present then. Yeah. So you're, but okay, so we're now moving to a situation where we're saying, right, the Bhavanga is always present. Yeah. So what sustains it? Is it kamma? Which condition?
But I don't think we agree that Bhavanga is always present. So I don't think the analogy works. I think the water continues, but Bhavanga doesn't.
Okay,
so
well, I have other questions. Yeah, okay. Well, given I was working on that premise. Working on the premise that it's always there. Working on the premise it's always there.
Yes.
By what pachaya is it sustained? Is it kamma?
Yes. You can see when.
Do you want to comment?
There are 19 karmas that will we call that presenti in the new life. Then, so at the moment of death, if you have maybe a kamma or kamma nimitta or kati nimitta, then it will become maybe the Bhavanga. So it goes on. Maybe then you can see that it is because of the 19 kinds of karma or chirana. And then you can see that it is caused by karma. So that's why it's going on and on, like the stream. It said it will not stop.
So we're saying that the traditional Theravāda view would be that Bhavanga is always present, but is only broken at death when it changes to another. What it is, it still goes on.
Well, anyway, when you see it anyway, you can see it is dead. But as in the antarābhava, in the condition, there's no gap between the rebirth linking and Judy.
Oh, there's no break. No.
There's no break.
I understand that.
So there's no break. In other traditions, they have the break, but we have antarābhava.
Yes, I realize that. I had a slightly different question. Okay, but so I think we have the Theravāda position. Thank you very much. Well, I think we can stop that. Well, I think we should come back to it. Yes. Okay. Very interesting and stimulating discussion, and thanks very much for your interest. And thank you to both these speakers for presenting their cases so eloquently. I've really enjoyed both talks. Thank you very much.
One last question from the Dr. Yusuna. Sorry.
Yeah, with the kind permission of our MC and Chair, Madam, that my question would again relate to this Bhavanga. Mm-hmm. I was listening to Ms. Prabhakar. Then in the first part of her presentation, she was saying something sort of like Bhavanga Jada to be transferred from life to life, like in Theravāda or something like that. So could you please repeat and explain that part again? That is the last slide of the first part. Yes. Like Bhavanga Jada to be transferred from life to life, like in Theravāda or something. That's what I...
Maybe I didn't explain much clearly. I mean, just in the Theravāda concept to use Bhavanga from the Juti-citta and pass to the next moment in the next life. Maybe it's not the same. Actually, it's not the same Bhavanga as in the past life. Maybe I didn't say clearly about this part. Sorry.
So it means that can we understand that that consciousness in that life ends at the moment of Juti, right? And another life continues at the beginning of the Patissanti. Right? Yes. Yeah, but because in Theravāda, not necessarily that Bhavanga has to be transferred from life to life, right?
I mean, there is some...
continuity.
Yes.
I think she was talking about, we were talking not about the same Bhavanga, but about continuity.
Then
yes,
in that
from
case,
the
I think
past
Sorry.
aramana to the next life.
then we might like to say that the potential of the karma continues, right? The potential of the karma continues, but not in the term of or in the name of Bhavanga. Otherwise, I think it would be a bit complicating, I suppose.
I think we're starting to get into quite important and wonderful issues, but
Yes.
we probably need to move on, maybe. But I'm really glad you raised that, and I hope it will come up.
Yeah, I hope that we can come to
Come
that
back
point
to
at a
it.
later time, maybe tomorrow at the Q&A session. Thank you so much for your kind.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry that we still bit. Oh, okay, cheers. Thank you very much, Sarasho, Professor Dr. Sarasho, for leading this section. Now it's time for us to presenting the certificates. May I now kindly invite Dr. Sarasho to present the certificate and Dhamma gift to the paper presenters. Okay, pour on your hand, thank you. And then the next speakers. Professor Dr. Ulamins. Thank you. Thank you very much.